right before the.
Good evening. I think we're on. If not, they'll make me repeat it. Is it 6:30? Okay, let's see here. 6:31. Good evening, and welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission. We are on actually an hour earlier, as we voted in our last meetings to meet the traditional commission schedule. So I believe now all of our commissions start at 6:30. And if you would please rise and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as I realized, I did not have my mic on, so welcome to tonight's Traffic and Transportation Advisory Commission. We just, as you saw, did the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're on early this evening as we have moved all of our commission meetings to 6:30. And so, Mrs. Zambrano, will you please call the roll?
Chair Lemo.
Here.
Vice Chair Engler.
Present.
Commissioner Gregory.
Here.
Commissioner Reeder.
Present.
And Commissioner McMahon is absent.
Thank you. Any person who wishes to speak regarding an item on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction during public comments portion of the agenda must file a public speaker card with the recording secretary before that portion of the agenda is called. Any person who wishes to speak on a specific agenda item must file a public speaker card before that specific item is called. Persons addressing the Traffic Commission are requested to state their name and city of residence for the record. Under state law, issues presented or introduced under public comments can have no action and will be referred to the Traffic Engineering Division Manager for administrative action or scheduled on a subsequent agenda. It would be appreciated, all of us as well, if you would silence your cell phones during our meeting. As a reminder, there should not be any dialogue between the audience and the commissioners at any time. TOTV can only record your comments when you're actually speaking into the microphone at the podium. A wireless microphone, however, is available for your convenience should you need to step away from the podium while speaking. And the first item on our agenda is public comments. And do we have any public comment cards? Each speaker during public comments will be given 3 minutes. The recording secretary will set the timer accordingly. The green light on the timer will begin counting down the 3 minutes. When the yellow light is displayed, you'll have 1 minute left, so please begin wrapping up at that time. The red light indicates that your 3 minutes are up, so please stop speaking at that time, but remain at the podium until questions, if any, from the commissioners have been answered. And we have one speaker under public comments tonight, Mr. Todd Lundy. Good evening, Mr. Lundy.
Good evening. My name is Todd Lundy. I lived here almost into the area, which brings a lot more kids onto the street. And I know that the sidewalk plans are for just the I believe it would be the east end. But even now you're building a new one on Los Feliz, further down the street. Now the kids can go to school easily by crossing the street and going up the sidewalk. But when they come home during the night or during the afternoon, they head for 7-Eleven, and that area right there is a real dangerous area. Also, I might add, where you place the mini mansion on, let's see, that would be Hillcrest, and where it backs into Los Feliz.
Mm-hmm.
On that hill, I might recommend that you send your street painters out and put "Do not pass" on the street. Because what happens there is you put 5 parking spaces right below a zero clearance hill. And when these cars come up, they go to parallel park, well, cars coming up behind go around, and I've almost seen 2 collide. Well, just 2 cars, not 2 different accidents. But I'd like to see you do that. I'd like to see you do a little more report on the other end of the street. Because if you could get one sidewalk all the way down one side of the street, you'd make the whole street safe.
I do have a question. When you say if you could do one sidewalk all the way down,
One side,
on just one side?
yes.
So it would be continuing on the side where we're going now, or you'd want it on the other side?
Well, right now, it's little bits and pieces. But what I'm saying is on the, it would be on the north side.
North side.
It's a short way to go to finish it from your project on that end. And then on the other end, it's really less than what you're doing on the full street. And if you put a sidewalk on one side, then even the people could come out of their homes and walk down to City Hall, Teal Boulevard to eat or whatever, but now we drive. And when you go up during the day, it looks like there's monolithic sidewalks. You know, there's dirt paths. But go up towards the evening and you've got cars parked in those paths.
Mhm.
So the kids are coming out behind those cars. And it's really a dangerous area.
And I think in order to take this further, you'll also find out what the land options are there as far as availability, of course, funding of extending the sidewalks and that type of information. And will you answer that at the end of this meeting, or will we bring that back?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be answering that tonight. We'll have to research that and get back.
But please send your street painters out and paint on the street, do not pass on the east end before that hill. Okay?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lundy. And there are no other public comments this evening? Commissioner Reeder, you said you had a question. Did you want to ask that question now or at the end of our agenda?
At the end.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I didn't skip over it. Our next item would be item number 5, summary notes from our May 15th, 2013 meeting. And as you can see, those summary notes are attached for your information. Does anyone have any questions? This is not an action item, so it's just for information only. Anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections? Thank you. We'll move ahead then. Item number 6, our engineer's report. And item 6A is our Los Feliz Drive sidewalk installation project that we've chatted a little bit about. It provide comments on design plans and request City Council to advertise for construction bids. And our engineer associate, Kathy Lowry, will handle this item.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Lemo and members of the Traffic Commission. Okay, my name is Kathy Lowry, and I'm going to be talking tonight about the Los Feliz Drive sidewalk installation project, which is currently at the 95% design review. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to inform the Traffic Commission about the level of progress that the city's made on this project, but more importantly, to give the public an opportunity to ask any questions or raise issues or concerns. So I would like to kind of put in, if during the presentation, if anyone in the public has some questions, they could fill out a speaker card at that time if they haven't thought of it yet. A little background and kind of what the project's about. It's obviously located on Los Feliz Drive. For the general public that may not be aware where Los Feliz Drive is, it's on the east side of the city. It's east of the 23 freeway and north of the 101. Specifically, this project is on the part of the Los Feliz Drive east of Caneo School Road, and it extends it's bounded on the west end with Caneo School Road and on the east side with Skyline Drive. It's about a half-mile segment, and both sides of the street will receive sidewalks where it's missing, and there's a little section on Skyline Drive on the west side that will also have sidewalks installed. By installing the portion on Skyline Drive, all of Skyline Drive will then have sidewalks, and children walking from like the Old Town neighborhood of Thousand Oaks can walk up Skyline Drive and then down Los Feliz on a continuous sidewalk. The project got a life in December 2011 when I went to the Canaos Elementary School, and there was a parent meeting, and I was able to kind of crash the parent meeting. They were talking about other things, but asked the parents that attended the meeting, and actually it was through a translator too, because many of the parents don't speak English. And there were school district officials there, as well as teachers and the principal, how they felt about having a sidewalk installed in Los Feliz Drive. And you can imagine it was overwhelming support, with basically the only big question was, when can we get it done? And at that point, it wasn't even a city project. So using that as the catalyst, I filled out a Safe Routes to School application in March, and it was awarded a grant of $332,000 in July. So we now had money, and we had support from the people who would be using it to walk to school. So then we went to the neighborhood and noticed all the residents that live on the street, as well as the property owners, which in some cases are different people. The people who live there may be renters. And had a meeting at Canale Elementary School down the street, and we had about 70% of the property owners present at the meeting. And again, we had a lot of support for the project, a lot of questions, a lot of other issues were raised. One of the things that was kind of frustrating, I think, for everyone is that it's just a sidewalk project. It's not a project to fix all the problems that are on the public street. But with their support, we brought it then shortly after that in September to the Traffic Commission, and then the community was invited at that point, not just the residents on the street, to raise any issues or questions. And with your blessing, we then went out and went under contract with Katsukitsu and Associates in November. And they were under contract to prepare the plan, specification, and estimate for the project. And I got right on it, and in January we brought to you the 50% plans, which showed that there were some challenges with the project still. And also, again, the community was noticed that they could come at that time and provide any input or concerns. And here we are 9 months later. The project's just about done the final design phase. Okay, so one of the design criteria was to have on the south side of the street a minimum of 12 feet of right-of-way, and on the north side a minimum of 18 feet of right-of-way. And what this graphic shows, that in the middle, there's, I don't know if maybe the people watching on TV can see, it shows that there's 12 feet and 18 feet. But what's important, this is just a minimum, because there's other sections just east of Quinta Vista, like where the condos are, there's 22 feet of right-of-way on the south side and 18 feet on the north side. So we had minimum design criteria that we were trying to maintain. Then in addition to this, we didn't want to have any, as minimum as possible, any right-of-way acquisition, moving utility poles as little as possible, and really having the least impact to trees. So in terms of utility poles, we've been able to design the project around all but basically 4 poles. This the slide on the left is directly across from the school, and in this area there's no parking on Los Feliz Drive on the south side. So we'll be putting the sidewalk between the street and the pole, and there'll still be 12 feet of travelway. And then on the picture on the right, that's looking, if you're looking towards Thousand Oaks Boulevard, and it's Skyline Drive, like that white truck is parked on Skyline Drive. So we'll be improving that whole corner. There'll be an accessible ramp. The sidewalk will go between the street and the pole, and then the sidewalk will continue around the corner. There are 4 poles that need to be relocated. They're only actually going to be moved about 5 to 8 feet, but if you can picture, the red arrow on the right is Skyline Drive. So if you travel west, there's 2 of them that are located right in front of one property, and then there's 2 that are located in front of the RV parking lot. So this is the one that says 2822 Los Feliz. You can see it's kind of on both ends, and the pole on the right actually looks like it's in the street, and it is. So we'll be working with Edison to relocate the pole back in the interim, because this project's still going to move faster than Edison. At least the city does move faster than someone. So the sidewalk will swing around behind the pole, and then as we get Edison to relocate the pole, then that portion of the sidewalk will be reconstructed just in that area. Like this is the part where the RV access is. Between the pole and the RV, I'm sorry, not RV access, RV parking. Between the pole and the chain link fence, it looks like there's a lot of space, but it's actually a drainage area. And so we're going to have the pole move back closer to the drainage area, and the sidewalk will go continuously along the street. But again, until Edison's able to move the poles. Interestingly, or at least interestingly to me, the Edison, they'll move the poles. It's part of their responsibility. They pay for the moving of the pole, but the city coordinates with all the other users on their pole, like Nextel or Verizon. There's various utilities on the pole. So Edison moves the pole, but the city still has to work with every single user of the pole to move on to the new pole, and that's really what takes a lot of the time.
Quick question: when they move the pole, do they replace it with a new pole at that point in time, so they don't have to go through this again?
Yes, it's a new pole. It's a nicer pole. It's a bigger pole. so yes, and all the ties that go with the pole have to be relocated too.
Thank you.
The last meeting, we thought there was going to be 2 properties that may have the city require right of way. There's only one. The city offered we need 300 square feet of right of way to put the project on this side of the street, and the property owner has accepted the city's offer of $3,000. So there's no other issues with acquiring right of way, which is great. There's 8 trees, shrubs that'll be impacted. It's not exactly the same 8 that we thought last January, but the number is still 8. There's a live oak at 2412. And again, all these are in the public right of way. It's just, all the property owners have been notified that it's going to be, they'll be removed. The one on Skyline, right next to that, the car, that's a very large shrub that needs to be removed to place a sidewalk there. At 2466, this property is actually on average like the length of 3 properties. So they're losing 4 trees, you could say, but it's not one small property. It's very long property, and it's those 2 large eucalyptus and the 2 junipers. There's a pepper tree at 2560, and then on the right picture is 2 palm trees and the shrubs that'll be removed. Drainage was a big challenge. I took this picture last January. You see the men walking in the middle of the street. That's because they don't want to walk in the puddle. And what if there was a sidewalk there, because the sidewalk's higher than the street, they would be out of the puddle. And then with the curbs and gutters, the water would be draining towards a catch basin. So putting the sidewalks, curbs, and gutters in will greatly improve the drainage issues. But it's also trying to figure out how the water is going to get down the street. And what we have is the catch basins on the north side of the street, but on the south side of the street there wasn't a catch basin, so the water was just sheet flowing on the south side of the street into the people's properties. So at the last meeting, we proposed that there was 2 alternatives. One, we could take out half the street and regrade it so the water would flow to the existing catch basins. Or the other alternative the engineer had come up with was to put a new catch basin in and then pipe the water under the street. And after they sharpened their pencils, they just determined that it would save $120,000, or it was cheaper to do it by $120,000 to do alternative 2. So that was the design selected. So to the residents, you won't see your whole street removed and regraded. The other significant challenge to the project has been to the 36 driveways that are impacted. There's 100% of them are already substandard by city standards, although they're all being used, and 4 were quite problematic. But as part of the project is as you put the sidewalk in, it shortens the driveway and makes it more steep. And so the city offered to go into each of the impacted driveways and resurface them, regrade them so that there's less of an impact. Of the 36, 34 residents have signed that right of entry so that it allows the city to go in and fix their driveways. One is in the mail. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a problem, but technically it hasn't been signed. And then there's one more driveway that the resident has chosen not to have the city rebuild it. And it's his decision, and the project will still move forward, and he still will be able to use his driveway. It's just what he's decided to do.
Now, when someone does that, do they release liability then as well?
Yeah. The project's coming in less than last time we were here. It's coming in at $600,000 on the dot. We've budgeted $632,000 because we have the Safe Routes to School grant of $332,000, and then TDA funds are also Transportation Development Act funds, can only be used for sidewalks and bike improvements. This money is part of our capital budget. If the project comes in even lower than estimated cost, the TDA funds can be allocated to another project. Then following this meeting and your direction, we'll have 100% of the project design complete. We'll take it to City Council and ask them to authorize staff to advertise for construction bids. We'll get lots of really good bids and then select one and take that back to Council. They'll award the bid, and then we'll start the construction hopefully in January. And probably won't rain, so that won't be a problem. There's a designated website for the project. It's on the city's website. All our capital projects have designated project websites. They're updated periodically, so anyone can look at it. I did want to bring your attention, there was two correspondence that I received since the notice went out, and I gave it to each of the commissioners. Both of them are in the email format, so if you have any questions about that, but they're both pretty positive. Okay, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you very much. And commissioners, any questions of staff? Vice Chair Engler.
Mrs. Lowry, thank you for your presentation. I had a couple questions. Where you have the loss of trees facing the 5 or 6 homeowners who are losing trees, is there anything that the homeowner receives in return if they can, want trees but put them on their own property, but then so they have the shade and the green? Do we do anything like that when a homeowner's losing trees?
No, it's because the trees are city trees and they're in the city right of way. So it's the same. What we have been able to do anywhere we had to move somebody's mailbox, or if there's any rebuilding, anything that was in the city's right of way that we have to keep, we rebuild that, but not with the trees.
I have another. Okay. Sure. So we had a question with the what was it we were talking about? With the poles, with the utility poles. I'm just throwing it out there, but wouldn't it be better to underground those poles in the future plans, future goals of utilities?
Yeah, and I guess the answer, yes. The desire is to underground all poles in the city. That would, but it's not part of the project budget. And Edison is, by our agreement with them, they are only required to relocate the poles. So they don't have it in their budget that they're going to underground them.
Thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, in the old days, if it was in a redevelopment project area, redevelopment would fund the undergrounding of poles. And if it was not in a redevelopment project area, developer fees were usually tacked on to require, and we don't have any of that happening right now. I do have one question, and that is, if in fact we achieve that savings of $32,000, and I know that's not a huge amount of money, but I'm wondering if that can be offered as a bonus if they were to finish 32 days early and make it a 5-month project instead.
I guess the way I understand, we have an engineer's estimate. It's clearly an estimate on what things cost today. And then we have a budget which was created last year. So both of these are they're not, I don't want to say soft numbers, but they are what they are. So we just hope that through a competitive bid process that the bids come in under budget, and then they get done without any change orders and everything's done ahead of time. But we wouldn't be able to do that.
And will this fall under that criteria of 5% to give it to locally owned businesses or businesses in Thousand Oaks?
Yes, I understand it. What sets the city's policy.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. Anyone wishing to address the commission on the specific agenda item may do so by filling out a purple speaker card. Mrs. Zambrano, do we have any?
No, we do not.
All right, we do not have any speaker cards, so I'll now open things up for commission discussion. Do we have any comments? Yes, sir.
I'd like to say I wish all our projects would go so accordingly and be so smooth with so much cooperation. So I thank you for all your efforts. And that's an A to Z effort. Okay, thank you.
Other comments? This is an action item, and so we will entertain a motion to, if you look on page 5, to consider the staff report, receive public input, which we have done, and the recommendation is to send to City Council and invite them to approve or recommend that they approve the project and authorize staff to advertise the project for construction bids. So we're looking for a maker of that motion. Yes, sir.
In light of everything, I say I make the motion to move forward on staff's recommendation as stated in their report, and as you just stated, with no changes.
Thank you, Commissioner Gregory. Do we need a second? We do not? All right. Call for the vote, please.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you, staff. Great report, Mrs. Lowry. Next item up is item 6B, our Bicycle Advisory Team Recommendations and School Safety Team Monthly Status Report. It is an information-only item, and you will find it there under 6B. Do we have any questions on that, or staff have any report? Any questions? All righty, very good. Then we will go down to item 7, status report of prior Traffic Commission recommendations, and as you can see there in your packet, there are none. Commission referrals is item number 8 from May 15th, 2013, and there are none. And then if you would go to item 9, this would be our work program and commission schedule, and you will see future agenda items. Calle Olivo, the petition request for installation of speed humps is coming. It's been a whole meeting and a half since we've had speed humps discussed, and I guess that's actually the reason we have it on Wednesdays, right? Is because we try and discuss speed humps on Hump Day. Thank you very much. See, that's a good commission. Be here till Wednesday. Try the veal, and then we also. Commissioner Gregory.
Could I just say that moving the meeting up 1 hour has already improved it?
Very, very good. And then also on Newberry Road, east of Hague Road, there's traffic and speeding concerns, and that's coming forth as well. So you've got your work program there, and we're going to open things up to Traffic Commission comments and discussion, and we'll start first with Commissioner Reeder.
Thank you. There's been a lot of public discussion in the newspapers regarding Public Works construction of sidewalk enhancements. And I would request that Mr. Machiko, you might bring us a status update on that, which is referred to as push-outs, as to what their design is, what their purpose is, and whether or not any unintended consequences have developed because of their installation.
Okay, yes, that's correct. We had 6 safe routes to school projects. These were all crosswalks, and some of them had the curb extensions where you take the sidewalk and go further out into the street, which reduces the pedestrian crossing distance. There were some comments that we got from the public during the construction phase. We've made some observations after school started. As far as we know, they're all working well. And what we'll do is we'll put together a status report and what we observed and put it in our next packet.
Thank you. I look forward to that.
Any other comments by commissioners? All right. Well, that's. I think we have beaten the record for record time. Oh, that's right. So we will be adjourning. Our next meeting will be held, just a reminder, at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16th, 2013, here in the boardroom of the Civic Arts Plaza on the third floor. Thank you all very much for your attention, and thank you, staff, for everything for tonight's meeting, and we are adjourned.